So far, we've introduced the idea of ethics, had a look at some of the key typologies or theories or frameworks around ethics, and then examined ethics in an organisational context. I suppose the last step is to just give us some thought starters around your personal ethic approach and how can ethics help me make decisions where I may face an ethical dilemma. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So one of the first things to recognise is that something being ethical or unethical is not exactly the same as it being legal or illegal. And that's what causes sometimes these ethical dilemmas. So obviously if something's ethical and legal, you're far more likely to do it. If it's unethical and illegal, then absent you being some kind of sociopath, you're not going to do it. The question mark comes, what happens if something's ethical but illegal? Or what happens if something's legal but it's unethical? What should we actually do when faced with these kind of decisions? And really in the context of business, I think we can even replace one of these axes, this legal, illegal. Let's just say we put in here make money and lose money. I mean, this is what really causes the challenge and the dilemmas that we find. What are we actually going to do when acting ethically will cost us money? Or if we act unethically, we can make a lot of money. What is it that we should do in those circumstances? The general ways of approaching this problem is to think about it from multiple contexts. So this is often called a pluralist. So one of the ways of thinking about this problem is that you can look at the ethical decision from a number of perspectives. And this is often called a pluralist test. Plural meaning just more than one. So what we have here is an example of quite a complex pluralist test. There are different kinds of ethical questions that we can ask. Some of them we've kind of covered off before, a utilitarian style approach or consequentialist approach. The universality test, we can see a bit of Kant coming through in that. But all this is doing is asking us to see the ethical dilemma in a number of different ways. Then that might trigger a response in us. Does the answer to the involvement test mean we should reject the action or veto the decision? Or is this the trigger that says, you know what, based on this answer, I think we should do it? You can always do some form of summing of positives and negatives as you go through this, but that's not necessarily the way you can use this kind of tool. The better way is to ask each of the questions, because it might be something around a single test, say the answer to the golden rule test, that will guide your action. It really just makes you think through the problem in more detail. As you can tell, that's a very complicated test. These pluralist tests don't need to be that complicated. In fact, they can be quite simple, as this test here from Norm Augustine, a famous US executive, puts. Just a few simple questions. Is it legal? If someone else did it to me, would I think it was fair? Would it be okay if it appeared on the front page of the local paper? Would I like my mother to know I did it? That's in essence a pluralist test, but a much simpler one to help guide our actions. And again, another simple test developed by a corporation this time to guide individual members. The common thread we see here is that a number of different perspectives are being brought to bear on the ethical issue to help us in making that decision. So the final thing, I think from my perspective, is to leave you with that thought about what is it that ethically you'd be willing to do in the pursuit of your career and success. I think that they're questions that we often don't think about, don't talk about, And it's only something that you can answer through some thought, thinking about what you'd like to be, who you would like to be, and also the circumstances in which you're likely to find yourself. So some particular questions for you to think about is, when would you lie or at least bend the truth, those kind of white lies? What criteria would you use for decision making? Is it more about the consequences, or is it more about the process of how you make decisions? And also thinking more broadly, what's the potential impact if something goes wrong, not just for you, but also for your loved ones or those who look up and respect you? Where do you draw the line in terms of success or winning? Because in the end, it's individuals, not a corporation, that actually undertake these ethical acts. At the heart of the matter, someone, somewhere, made this decision.